Episode 3366, Manage Different and Diverse Perspectives in Marriage.
Moms, it's time to rediscover, rejuvenate, and renew who you are in mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie, the show to help you do just that. Here's your host, certified life coach, personal trainer, and nutritionist, Christiane Wargo.
Happy day. Can I just tell you, I am getting an itch for spring. Oh yes, it was a little bit chilly and now it's beginning to warm up. And you know what, most importantly, I want your heart to warm up for the person that you're sleeping with. Yes, manage different and diverse perspectives in marriage. For those of you who are brand new to Create Your Now, welcome to this incredible family. I'm so delighted of your presence. If you already haven't had the opportunity, you'll want to head on over to createyournow.com where you can learn more and sign up for the Kisses newsletter, the Keep It Simple strategy, everyday solutions to live, love, and impact. This episode is brought to you by AIM, inspiring connection and community. Well, we just got to get down to the nitty gritty because you know what? I'm just telling you like it is. Conflicts are inevitable when you're talking about marriage. However, when you look at how couples manage different and diverse perspectives in marriage, it can make all the difference in maintaining a strong and healthy relationship. But what I find is, couples are so good at placing blame. Placing blame not on themselves, but on their spouse. And each spouse then takes those proactive steps to say, okay, well, you did this and you did that. And you're pointing fingers and jabbing each other and poking each other. And really, all of a sudden, it's like, well, why aren't you taking proactive steps to manage yourself so you can foster understanding and compromise within your marriage? But you see, you have to consider that when couples constantly hound each other, right? They constantly nag each other on what they believe is right without looking at their spouse's position or opinion. It's going to lead to a breakdown in communication and trust within the marriage. Maybe you've seen this. Maybe you've had it happen in your own marriage. You've experienced it because this behavior often stems from a place of ego and a desire to be seen as right or superior. Now, I know my women here, I love you, right? And you're like, well, I don't have an ego. Yeah, we all do. Whether you're man or woman, you have an ego and everybody wants to be right. Now, there are some people who want to be right more, but we all want to be right. We don't want to be told that we're wrong. And so when we are looking at this, our behavior then leads us to, well, I want to be right, instead of valuing the perspective and feelings of their spouse. And this dynamic, this tension, right, creates a power struggle within the relationship where each person is more focused on proving their point of view, proving them that, hey, I can do this, rather than understanding and respecting the other's viewpoint. And if we go on and dig a little bit deeper, when you've got a couple that engages in constant hounding and is very dismissive towards each other, right, it can create this toxic environment of resentment and frustration, which leads to what? Bitterness. And the cavity builds and builds and builds. And over time, this can erode the emotional connection between spouses. Hence, I've fallen out of love, which leads to the feelings of alienation and isolation within marriage. You know, you're sleeping in the same bed, but you don't know who you're sleeping next to. You don't really have a relationship any longer. You're just kind of like, well, we're doing life together. We share bank accounts and bills, and we share the roof that's over our head and maybe some crazy creatures that either have 4 legs or 2 legs, and we call that marriage. Well, what kind of life is that? And then it becomes challenging because all of a sudden the dreams that you thought you had together when you were dating are no longer there. And then there's this huge brick wall that becomes this challenge to build this foundation of mutual respect and support. So instead of building the foundation, you're building the wall. And then you've got either one or both of you are just unwilling to listen and consider each other's perspective. And you're like, I'm done with this. And that's when normally what happens, separation or divorce. Now, there can be reconciliation, but if this goes on long enough, it just puts this wedge in your marriage. And then you don't have the conversation anymore. You have no interest in each other. So whether you're hounding or harassing or just choosing to be difficult, because sometimes we do that, right? I have been. I'm like, I do not want to be nice today. I mean, I don't say it that way in my mind, but it's just this attitude. And I catch it. I mean, I caught myself last night, and I wasn't really being like this difficult woman who was like, I am going to be right. It wasn't that. It was just that I was tired and I worked really hard. And I just didn't get any notice, I guess, for all the time and effort I put into it. So I was kind of fussy about it. And so I had this tone in my voice, this bite, and I caught myself. I was like, really, this is not going to get you anywhere. It doesn't matter whether or not he sees the work that you did. You know that you did it. You know it looks amazing. You know you feel amazing. You're exhausted. But it clears the clutter of what's in front of you so you can do what's next, right? So then I flip the switch and I'm like, all right, fine, we're out of that. But if you're one who's caught in that cycle of wanting to be right, it can escalate to conflicts and disagreements. It can escalate to you're in the doghouse, turning small issues into larger ones. And then you have more contentious battles. And this then creates this pattern of communication breakdowns and emotional distance, making it more difficult for you to come together and find that common ground and work together as a team. And when you don't have that open and respectful communication, you're going to struggle to navigate challenges and differences in a healthy and constructive way. Ultimately putting what? Your marriage at risk. Hence the separation, the divorce, or maybe just plain common sense avoidance. That's not a life. That's not a marriage. So if you want to avoid falling into the trap of being the hound dog, yes, and hounding each other, which can be detrimental, by the way, to your marriage, unless if it's really a four-legged hound dog, because they're adorable. They can be a little bit messy. They do slobber, but that's for another episode. Then you want to step up your game. That is your Kiss to Keep It Simple strategy. Step up your game. We like to keep score, but we're keeping score in all the wrong manners. And so it's essential for us as a couple to practice that empathy, that active listening, that mutual respect in order to really foster, to create this comfort zone, so to speak, that is harmonious and supportive to each other, built on what? Understanding and cooperation. I love you for who you are. No strings attached. Now, that's easier said than done, right? You can't just step up your game and be like, yeah, I got this. This is awesome. No. So we're going to look at a lot of C's here today. So hang in there because I want you to see how you can step up your game. Number one, consciousness versus carelessness. First off, consciousness refers to being aware of your thoughts, your feelings and surroundings, like being self-aware. And you as a spouse can better control your reactions during conflicts by recognizing and understanding the triggers and emotional responses. Who wants to be careless, right? We need to be conscious because careless is what? Your lack of attention, awareness, your lack of concern that, this isn't going to win you any brownie points. Licensed marriage and family therapist John Gottman says this: taking responsibility for our own emotional reactions can significantly impact how we navigate disagreements with our partners. So are you being conscious? Are you so engaged? That means what? Presence. Otherwise, if you're careless, what happens? Well, you're like, I don't care. It's whatever. I'm just going through the motions. Hence, I've fallen out of love. But again, you have to be willing to look at yourself and engage in that self-examination, that introspection. And that consciousness is going to take the energy of a full-time job. It's not going to come easy. You think you're tired now? You put in that energy to make the change, you're going to be like, wow, I'm exhausted, because it's equivalent to a 40-hour work week in one day. Seriously. Because you have to retrain yourself. You messed up for so many years. And now you have to retrain your behaviors, which retrains your habits. And so that means you're having to consciously think about what you're doing. So prepare your mind for the hard work ahead. Consciousness versus carelessness. Number two, come on, let's see how you can step up your game. Compassion versus callousness. Secondly, cultivating empathy towards your spouse's point of view is crucial. Hello, compassion. Empathy lets you see things from your spouse's perspective, creating this environment of understanding and connection. The research by psychologist Sarah Conrath says that highlighted the whole thing of empathy, that it's essential for building strong and meaningful relationships. It's a building block. Compassion, empathy is a building block, right? It's the bridge that connects differences in marriage and paves the way for mutual understanding. But you know what? If you want about 1,000, then continue your callousness, the lack of compassion, the lack of empathy and sensitivity toward your spouse and others, which indicates a cold and indifferent attitude that contrasts with the warmth and understanding association with compassion. It's called kindness. Are you being kind to your spouse? A lot of times we're not. We're kind to everybody else but the person we're sleeping next to. And I can't stress that enough. And it's going to show up in your marriage. It's going to show up in your attitude. It's going to show up in your tone of voice and the language that you use. It's going to show up when you're out and about with friends. And all of a sudden, every look that you give your spouse is like daggers coming out of your eyes. And your words are like bullets to the heart. I mean, like, seriously. Think about it. Are you coming from a perspective of compassion or callousness? And then finally, let's see, to step it up in your game, collaborate versus compete. When you adopt a collaborative mindset, that changes everything because it's really key. Instead of viewing conflicts as a battle to be won, like, I'm going to conquer this. No. Approach disagreements as opportunities for growth and compromise. And that can lead to more constructive resolutions, right? Look for the solutions in your marriage, not for, I want to be mad at you because, I just want to be mad at you because I kind of feel like picking a fight with you. Dr. Sue Johnson says that emphasizing collaboration and teamwork are vital for resolving conflicts in marriage. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself keeping score, and then it will be a win or lose event every time you come together. Every time. Who really wants to play in the Super Bowl every day? I mean, I'd like to watch it if it's the real Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl of marriage. But that's what happens. And maybe I should say MMA, all out, drawn down fight, and you're drawing blood. I don't want that to happen, figuratively or literally. Managing differences and diverse perspectives in marriage, it's going to require you, my friend, to be proactive and take this introspective approach, looking in, seeing who you see in the mirror and looking and say, do I really like that person? Because if I don't like that person, how's my spouse going to like that person? And by practicing your consciousness, right, which is your self-awareness, your compassion, which is empathy, and your collaboration, meaning you're better together, you'll be able to navigate these conflicts with grace. Who needs to extend more grace today? I do. We all can do better with extending grace and understanding more. And when you do all of that, it will strengthen the bond with your spouse. You can have an incredible marriage. Yes, you may not agree on everything, but you can agree to disagree in a manner that serves both of you well. Go in peace, be present, be incredible, be you. I love you so very much. I cannot wait to see you on the other side. Blessings, hugs, and lots of love. We'll talk to you real soon. Have a glorious, blessed day. Bye-bye.
Feeling inspired, ready to train for life and love your journey? Visit createyournow.com for more incredible resources to help you along the way. We'll see you next time on Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie. And remember, always be sure you consult your physician before beginning any health and fitness plan.